Welcome to the Cut Above podcast, where average isn't accepted and standards aren't negotiable. No shortcuts, no excuses, just real training, real coaching, and real progress. I'm your host, Cody Maynard, Director of Human Performance for a private security company, owner, operator of Have a Day Fitness, independent personal training company, and Show Up Fitness instructor. This is episode 3. Today is going to be what programming for a client actually looks like. What does it entail? What are the tasks that need to be done? What boxes need to be checked before you even start to think about putting exercises together for a program, whether it just be an initial assessment or building out a week's worth of training or even a day's worth of training for a client. So everyone talks about custom programming, and I'm going to use that that's in air quotes, but most people have no idea what that actually means. It's uh, just exercises that are being prescribed with no base of support, no real thought behind why the exercise is placed there, what its purpose, what the end goal should be, and then being able to navigate around that on the fly and in real time is going to be what makes you a very, very valuable, but also very successful as a trainer or coach. Real programming is problem solving. It's not just random exercises thrown onto a spreadsheet and say, here you go. So today we're going to break down what it looks like to build a training program for a client and what real coaching in more depth than most people realize looks like. So I'm going to get on and share my screen here. Share. There we go. All right. So I hope that you can see this here. So what we are going to be looking at is pretty much my protocol for when I get a new client in. And today we are going to be looking at John Doe. So when we're looking at bringing a new client in, first thing foremost is we need to do an assessment. An assessment comes before any exercise selection, before any programming starts to happen, really before any of the actual workout itself happens. So when we're going to start to cover with the assessment, initially, obviously, we're going to do an intake form. I would hope we're going to do an intake form. We're going to do a PAR-Q, a health history questionnaire. So we're going to get a lot of this information out of the way ahead of time. But this is also a good time. I like to have clients come in and we talk about the information on the health history form, on the PAR-Q, um, any sort of aches, pains, injuries from the past. I want them to verbalize that because a lot of it's going to come out in speaking more so than typed out on an online form or even just handwritten and they bring it to you. So we're going to start with, what are your goals? Why are you here? What are you looking for? Fat loss. Do you want to just put muscle on? Are you in pain? Do you want to, do you have an injury, a past injury that is plaguing you and you want to be out of pain? Athletic performance, some sort of competition pursuit. There's a lot of that going around now. High rocks is a big one. So having a little bit more of a competitive programming for performance is a big thing right now, or just general health. You want to live longer and you want to feel better while you're living. So that is a big one too, and that one's the most general, right? That's the most basic. You can really do anything, and that person is going to see the results and reap the benefit of proper exercise done right. And then from there, we're going to go into, you know, what has your training looked like? Are you brand new, former athlete? Excuse me. Are you beat up from years of bad training? If you have somebody that has never stepped foot in a gym before, that's going to look 360 degrees different than if you say you have an ex former college athlete, whether it's, any athlete, in my opinion. If you have made it to the college ranks in some form or fashion of a sport, you have a good set of genetics and you have good work ethic, and more than likely you have good body and spatial awareness so you can move well. It's just, regaining that and then fine tuning that in the gym. And then lastly, what kind of movement restrictions do we have? Are you beat up from years of bad training? We're gonna look at the hips, we're gonna look at the shoulders, the knees, the back. Those are going to be your prime hot spots, so to say. The hips, shoulders, knees, and low back are usually going to somebody's going to have a story or something that is tight, that they dinged it, they did this, they did that. So you're going to have to be able to synthesize that information as it's coming into you, be able to delineate what was the injury, what was the protocol after the injury, what happened, what to do next, did what they did prior. Did it work? Did it not work? Um, are there still any lingering side effects, any still lingering pains from there? And that's all red flag things that you can snuff out. And I am not afraid to refer out when it is above my scope. Working with a physical therapist or multiple physical therapists on your team is a game changer in terms of, we have a scope. I can do a lot. I can't diagnose, and when it comes into, you know above my pay grade level things, I will refer out. I'll go with. I'm in good contact with my physical therapist, so I'll talk to them about what the client that's coming in. They have, L4, L5 past history. What do I need to look for? We've got a femoral nerve damage. What do I do? What can I not do? What do I need to look for? So things like that. That's all stuff that we're going to be able to snuff out, not only in the forms, but in conversation as well. And then lifestyle factors. We're going to look at all this stuff. I want to know where your stress level is, what your sleep looks like, what do you do for work? Is it a very demanding job? Are you on your feet 12, 13 hours a day? Are you a brick mason? Or do you just sit at a desk and you're a lawyer? Right. So all of those things are going to play into our physical demands, our recovery demands, recovery capacity, what we can withstand and what we can actually recover from the sessions themselves, but also life in general. So then from there, at that point, we are going to get into what the assessment actually looks like. So from there, I have got on my screen the app that I use here, and I have a built out generalized assessment that I use. And now this is not like I go by this every single time and I only do what is on this page here. This is just a guideline, an outline, so to say. Um, First and foremost, I always check blood pressure. First incoming client, whether they check the box and say it's great and they checked it yesterday, I don't care. I'm going to check your blood pressure. I am going to see what that looks like. We can adjust from there. Blood pressure is the high blood pressure is, they call it the silent killer for a reason. So we don't want to play any funny business there. And so now, as we work our way down the sheet here, so you can see I've got shoulder cars. So I'm not exactly going to go down the full car route. Um, we can, but at this point, I'm just looking for general shoulder function, shoulder mobility. I want to just screen. And now for this individual, we're going to say that they're just general health. They've got no real aches, no real past injuries, nothing that stands out, no big red flags like we have to screen for shoulder pain, low back pain, knee pain. We're not doing any in-depth screening for injuries. We're just going to go off of a very general. They want general health. They want to build muscle, lose fat, and feel better. So here, I'm just looking for shoulder function, so I'm going to have them go into flexion, see how that feels, one side at a time, and then we'll get both sides. We're looking for if we can get our hands roughly even above our head here without really dumping the chest and dumping in, dumping out. At that point, we get to check out a little bit of that thoracic mobility, going through some extension of that mid back, and then from there, I always like to ask after every movement, I tell everybody, you're going to hear me ask this a lot. How did that feel? What did you feel? What did you have there? Anything hurt? You know, generally, if somebody doesn't have a pre-existing injury, they're going to say, yeah, we're good. So from there, we box off the shoulders and a little bit of thoracic mobility. Perfect. And then from there, we're going to check out the hips. And now with the hips, we can also get into some of the low back mechanics as well. So if you have the luxury of having a table, a massage table, you can do this. It's excellent for that. It's one of my most used pieces of equipment. So we're going to go into a hip flexor lift or basically a hip flexor test here. So from there, we're going to just see how well we can have one leg dangling off of the table or off of the bench. And we want to see how much we can flex that hip, bring that knee up, 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 see where we stop, feel any pinch points along the way. And the whole time we're looking at the pelvis itself, the hip complex, and as we've got one dumped down forward and we're raising one leg up, we want to see if there's any compensation. If we can't get this working side up, you're going to start to see that downside is going to want to start to raise up and elevate to take over. And then from there, you're probably going to get somebody to say like, "Ooh, I feel that kind of in my low back a little bit." That's perfectly fine. I'm a very positive language person. I don't like, oh, you're broken. We've got to fix this. For your hip flexors, your psoas. We've got to get in there, and that's the devil. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, all right, great, that looks good. We got a good place to work from. So then from there, if anything were to pop up along this way, like somebody has knee pain, perfect. Then we're going to go check. We're going to look at the ankle. We're going to check that ankle mobility. We're going to do a wall test. We might do some calf raises. And then from there, we can, whatever it may be, we can get into some soft tissue work. So now just moving along. Now this is where the movement starts, and I don't do an extravagant assessment, but what I do is I want to see you move through the movements that we are going to do. So some core movement patterns. So we're going to do a box squat, just body weight. I want to see how you go. I want to see what your feet are doing, what your ankles are doing, your knees, your hips, your back. Where's your bracing? Where's your breathing coming from? I'm checking all of that off, and from there, I take a note. This app is great. I can have a little notes section here that I will add notes as we're going. I don't verbalize anything that I see, and I also don't like catastrophize what is happening. Like somebody's knees are caving in and dumping in, and they're hunched over and lean forward. I don't just give them like again, you're broken. We've got to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to. Great. All right, cool. That looks good. I'm going to take a note of what we have, and so that when we get into our session, I know where to plug and play a cue or where my coaching needs to go so that I can get them to better feel what we're trying to do and then just move smarter and move better. So then we're going to move into a banded row. I'd use bands for an assessment. It's a low impact. everybody's going to be able to withstand the load that you're doing, but it will give you a good frame of reference of how we're going to move. So we're looking at a banded row. I usually tell people neutral grip, and I just want to see how you flow through the motion. Here, if we're looking, are we pulling through the traps, or are we keeping the shoulders depressed? Are we able to get some extension through the shoulder? Can we get that retraction of the shoulder blades, bringing that mid back together? I'm checking all this stuff out, and then I'm looking on the let out. Are we letting out high again through the traps, or are we keeping it low, letting those traps and rhomboids stretch out? And then can we get that back, keep a nice tall sternum, keep it through? All of that is what I'm looking for there. Just very general, no PRs for this. And again, the notes is going to be my best friend there. We'll flip around. So we did a pull. So now we're going to do a push. Same thing, a banded press. You could call it a fly, but I usually just, we're going to do the opposite. So now we're going to let those arms and hands travel back behind us. And again, we're going to see some more shoulder function here. We're going to see some scap movement. And then from there, are we pressing up through the traps? Are we dumping over into the front delts and letting the triceps do the work? Or are we letting that chest flare open, keep it nice and tall, driving to the midline? I'm checking all that stuff out. And again, all of this is just going to be data and information as I'm going for whenever we get into the session. And then we'll do some transitional stuff, putting the upper body and lower body together via the core, see how it moves together. Can we find a good core bracing? And then I like to do a bird dog, works a little bit of coordination. And then this will be my introduction into some trainer engagement, some tactile cueing and feedback. I'll see, we'll start with one arm at a time. We'll go right arm, perfect. Left arm, good. Right leg, good. Left leg, good. Then we'll throw it in. Right arm, left leg. Okay, good. A little wobbly, perfect. Pull that belly button in. Left arm, right leg, boom, stonewalled. So then right there, that's how you know, all right, we need to draw that. We need to find that good core deep brace as we're extending through. Good notes to have there. And then from there, we'll just go into a side plank. I want to see how we can get stacked elbow over shoulder. And then from there, if we can keep the shoulder and hips and ankles all in a line, stacked well, nice tall posture, drawing that belly button in again. We're going to get some oblique action here. See how those inner and outer obliques, how the serratus is going to work together with all of that. And then from there, if nothing stands out, that's when I say, all right, cool. Now we're going to get into the session itself. I usually call it a mini session. And with that, it's basically just since we are on the back end of a talking portion and an assessment, and that assessment can range from, if somebody moves well, moves good, I'm in and out in 8-10 minutes, maybe max, if that. But it can also take up, upwards of 30-45 minutes if we really got to dig in on some knee things, some ankle things, some shoulders, some low back stuff. We can really dig in, and it can take 45, maybe if we even have to do a full hour, and we're just isolated on that one area, then there's going to be extreme value derived from that. So now moving on to what the actual workout would look like. And now I have this already pre-made up here, but I'm going to be able to talk you through kind of where I'm going with this. And this is just a general client, general population, no real athletic goals, no real pain points, anything like that. General health. We want to move better, gain some muscle, lose some fat along the way. So this programming is going to mirror what a CCA approach looks like at Show Up Fitness, where that is the style of programming for incoming trainers and what we give to trainers as a good framework for programming. It is a plug and play system. So CCA, stands for a core movement pattern, and then an accessory movement pattern. So inside of that, we've already covered what the core movement patterns are, but we've got squat, hinge, push, pull, vertical, horizontal in both the push and pull. We've got a unilateral pattern, and then we've got some sort of transitional pattern. So inside of that, what it will look like is our first block here, we're going to go for a trap bar deadlift. With the trap bar deadlift, yes, we are going to we're looking at our hinge slash some squat-y pattern. You could argue it's a squatty hinge pattern, but we're gonna check all of our boxes there. I've got 2 sets here just because again, it is a mini session. We are on the back end, so I don't want to run long. I want to be able to get through everything. Each time we're going to cycle through here, and we're probably going to look at first set, we're going to go for, let's call it 12 reps, and then the next set, we're going to add a little bit more weight, and we're going to go for 10. So what it'll look like is, I'm actually going to delete that. So we'll go part 1 of block 1 is trap bar deadlift, and then we're going to go right over into dumbbell bench press. So now with this, you can add a slight incline, you can go flat, you can go wherever you want. And here I'm going to spot my client. I'm going to be behind them. I'm going to either be at the wrists on the get up, or I'm going to, just shadow at the elbow. I'm going to just make sure that I'm there for them, giving them the proper setup the entire way, giving them the feedback that they need. And it's very similar on this. We're going to go 12 reps. So now we just did a trap bar deadlift right into a dumbbell bench press. And then now we're going to go right over into a cable crunch. So this will be the third part. And now with this one, we're going to go a little bit higher on the reps here. So we're going to go 15. So now that is set 1 of block 1. And now we are going to rest after we have finished our deadlift, dumbbell press, and cable crunch. Now we will rest. So we'll add a little bit of rest. Take this time to have conversations, see how everything felt, address any niggles or any movement discrepancies that you may have seen or saw or the client felt. Take the rest not as we've got to rest X amount of time and then we go. Take what the client's giving you. If they're not huffing and puffing and they're gung ho and they're ready to go, cool. We're going to jump right back in. So let's say John he had a 35-pound plate on each side. We're going to bump that up a little bit. We're going to put a 45 on, and then John is going to, let's say we're going to shoot for 10 reps here. And if he falls short, he gets 9 or 8. Perfect. That's great. Just take your note and move on. You have a good starting place of where his strength is, where the endurance is, and you're going to be able to see what laps first. So after we finish our second set, of deadlift, we're going to roll right into our second set of dumbbell presses. And again, we're going to aim for 10 reps here. And again, we want to add some weight the second set as we're going through. We want to make it a little bit more challenging. Here, let's say John did the 40-pound dumbbells. We'll just bump it up to the 45s. And if he overshoots and he gets 12 again, that's great. That's perfect. There should be no expectation of pushing loads and or hitting a prescribed rep target. I am a by feel coach and by look coach. I look how reps are slowing down, if we're starting to break down on form, or if we get to rep 8 or 9 and he's just rolling these reps along, perfect. I'll send them up to 14, 15, 16, all the way up to, I'll send you to 30. I'm not afraid to do that either. And we'll just chalk that one up, take a note, and move on. And then from here, with the cable crunch, we're going to shoot for 15 again on this one. And I may keep the weight the same for some weighted core work. I don't want to, completely, smash ourselves here, but also we still want to be able to get a good feeling of flexing and extending, sitting down on those abs. So we'll be on the cable stack, say he did 80 pounds. We'll keep it at 80. We'll do back-to-back 15s there. So now that is block one. And in a normal session, a non-intro, non-assessment consultation session, we would add a third set to all of these here. And we would run through each one of these in block one 3 times, resting after each exercise is completed. So at the very end of the block. So, but today, again, just for time's sake, it'll be just 2 sets. So after talking through block one and kind of how the setup of the CCA works, I'm not going to go through and just, add reps and weight each time. I'm just going to kind of go through what the rest of the programming would look like. So if we look, we're going to classify this as a hinge. And now this is, I should have prefaced this earlier. This is a full body workout. So we hit a hinge, we hit our push, and for this one, we'll call this just a horizontal push. And then we hit a core work, as in core abs work, not a core movement pattern. So now block two, what that will look like. So based off of the assessment, we saw that John had a very good squat, a nice even balanced squat. He had good pressure on his feet. His knees were stacking. His hips were traveling. Posture was good. So now here, block two, we're gonna go to the leg press as opposed to say a goblet squat. We don't need to regress him and start him at that lowest hanging fruit. That's something that we can even get back to later on in the program and weeks and months later if we need to. If we hit a sticking point or if we want to really dial in something, we can go back to something that's a little more regressed. But here I want to give John some stability. So we're going to put him on a leg press and we're going to be able to load it up. But and again, today it's not all about setting PRs. So we're gonna aim for this first set. We're gonna shoot high. We're gonna go for 15 reps on the first set. And I said I wasn't gonna do this, but it's hard. This is my job. This is what I do. So part one, block two is leg press, and then we're gonna go right over to a seated cable row handle of whatever choice you decide for John that day, whether it be V bars, double handle, D handles, straight bar, whatever it may be, low cable row. And from there, say we saw John in the assessment with the band, he was kind of driving through those traps a little bit. I'm gonna get behind him. I'm gonna find the spine. I'm gonna get in between the scaps. I'm gonna put my finger right there. I'm gonna say, John, I want you to squeeze my finger with your shoulder blades. More times than not, that's going to get him to sit down and relax so he can really retract and find my fingers. If not, that's fine. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap him on his traps as he's starting to pull, or I'm going to, apply a little bit of pressure downward on those traps to just manually push him down to like, oh, that's where you need to, oh, that's where I need to be. He's going to find that, and then he'll naturally just squeeze those shoulder blades together. So we'll go leg press right into seated cable rows, and then we're going to hit another core work. So we're going to go high plank here. And this one says high plank toe taps. That's just the one that I chose. But in any sort of plank variation, I'll get involved. I'll do some verbal, some tactile cueing. I'll stand right next to them and I'll put my knee on their hip and I'll say, lean into me. You're gonna feel those obliques start to fire up. We'll go back to center. I'm gonna say right leg up, and I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure to their lifted leg, make them restabilize themselves, kind of getting back to that whole coordination compensation thing. And then from there, we'll go for say block one or round one is 30 seconds. We'll bump that up the next time as we go through. So now we've went leg press, seated cable row, high planks with some trainer engagement. We'll rest after the planks, and then we will cycle back through for our second set of leg press, seated cable row, and high planks with making weight increases, rep adjustments, any sort of coaching that is involved, they're needed at that time. That's when we'll do it as we start that next exercise or that next set of that exercise. So now that is block 2. And so from there, John's probably going to, depending on where his level of conditioning is at, he's probably going to be, he's got a little sweat going. He's good and warm. He's got good feeling through the shoulders, through the chest, through the back, through the legs now. And again, with this being a consultation assessment, I don't want to smoke him. The goal is not to come in here and just beat somebody that is willing to pay you into the ground. That's not going to get anywhere unless they ask for it. Some may ask for that. But for the most part, they want a good balanced workout with good direction, and they want to feel better when they leave than when they showed up. So with that, block 3, and with keeping the theme in mind here, block 3 is I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with it. John's a guy who doesn't want to have bigger arms as a guy. So we're gonna end off with a little fat arm session here. So block 3, we're going to go cable bicep curls. And again, variation of your choice, whether you want to use a straight bar, a cambered bar, single arm with one D handle. The pick is yours. And from there, we're going to go right to the next side of the cable stack, and we're just going to do a standard tricep press down. So from there, again, choice of your handle, straight bar, cambered bar, handles, cuffs, rope, whatever it may be, coaching them along the way. We want to just get that good feeling of that elbow moving on both of those movements. Find that squeeze at the top, good stretch. Find that stretch at the top here for triceps and that good downward squeeze. We want to get those arms full of blood and get a nice little pump going for John. And then to finish it off with a little bit more core work. Core work at the end of each block is never going to hurt anybody, especially for a general health, general population setting. Um, Everybody wants that nice toned tummy. So that is where we would go. And from there, this says GHD decline crunch, but really any decline, it doesn't have to be on a GHD. Those can be a little aggressive, but just a standard decline bench where it's got the rollers and you hook your feet in from there, and you can play with the tempos on these. You can have your hand say, all right, John, we're going to roll back. And when you touch my hand, we're going to pause 1, 2, and then we're going to go all the way down. Have a little bit of fun with those, get engaged, get moving and get involved with your clients. So we'll do one set there and say, first set we do 12 reps. We do 12 reps here on the biceps and triceps, and then we'll go 12 here again, just round numbers. So now for our final set, with it being only 2 sets, our final set of the session of this last third block, I'm going to have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to tell John, all right, I've got 45 seconds on the clock, and we're going to set the weight appropriately. If you got 12 reps with, say, you did 60 on the cable stack, I'll probably bump it down. I'll cut it in half. I'll go 30. Or if you have a cable stack, you can go 35. That does that. Say we'll go 30. I said, John, I got 45 seconds on the timer. I want you to get as many reps as you possibly can. And go. Perfect. He's going to be pumping them out. He's going to be pumping them out hard out of the gate. It's easy. It's easy. It feels good. He's going to get to about halfway, 20, 25 seconds in. He's going, this is getting tough. So he's going to start slugging through some reps. And then you get to add a little bit of your motivation. As a trainer, you got to be a little motivating. So you can coax him along a little bit more. And then from there, we're going to do the same exact thing on the triceps. We're going to cut the weight down. Say he did 60 again. We'll go to 30 or 35 or 40, whatever it may be. And we're going to say, all right, John, 45 seconds on the clock again, and go. He's just going to be pumping tricep extensions out. He's going to have a huge, massive pump in his arms. He's going to feel good. He's going to look. His shirt's going to be tighter. He's going to love it. And then we'll finish off with just a standard set, again, with some trainer engagement. We'll go for, say he did 10. He's got a good workout in, so he got 2 less that time. And now after that, finish that last set of that last block out. Typically, we are going to go into, we're going to go back over to your desk somewhere for he can sit down. You're going to go into the private room wherever you're at. And then from there, what it's going to look like is you're going to, ask him, how was it? What'd you think of that? And let him do the talking. He's probably going to say, that was great. That was awesome. I feel good. Like nothing hurt. Everything was moving good and I feel awesome. So from there, it's a very, very simple, at that point, all right, I've got him. He's in. He loved the workout. We bonded, we talked, we created that rapport. He trusts me. I didn't hurt him. I didn't smoke him. He feels good. All right, John, how many times a week do you want to work out? And he's probably going to ask, he's going to, sit here and him and haw and think about it. What do you think? And, whatever your packages may be, whatever your availability may be, I always like to shoot high. John, I'd love to see you, 6 or 7 days a week. And we can make that happen, for sure. But, realistically, and he's probably going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a little much. What do you think about 3 or 4? Perfect. That's great. So 4 sessions a week is, 4 sessions a week at $100. That'd be $400 a week. And how do you want to pay for it? And then you're quiet. You don't say anything after you tell them the price. You let them sink in, let him set, and he's gonna be like, all right, cool. Here's my credit card, and we'll get set up for next week. And from there, you now have successfully got a client onboarded, done an intake forms, screened them for any red flags, did a full movement assessment, taking notes along the way so that whenever you're going to build your program out, you have an idea of what you're doing, what you need to do. And then from there, you execute a well programmed training session that is individualized and programmed for the client and the human being that is in front of you. And now if there is an outlier out there, obviously there's a chance we might not do a dumbbell incline press because we've got some shoulder stuff we need to work through. Stability isn't there. You know, Sometimes a leg press can be scary for a lady that has never been in the gym before. So then we're going to find an alternative that's going to work better in that setting. And you're going to be able to pick up on all of these things as you're talking and moving with this person. So from that point and from that long rambling stage of what I have given you here today of basically a full day's worth of programming, I want to just tie it all together. So when it comes to programming should be individualized. You're programming and coaching the person that is in front of you. You are not just, going off of what you like to do and how you should do things and how the internet tells you that, or even worse, a textbook tells you how you should do things. You're problem solving along the way. Each movement, each individual aspect of how a person moves and thinks and perceives is all a problem solving event that takes on within that is a training session. Um, Structure is more important than exercises. You need to have the structure of a program so that you can have it in place week over week so that progression and execution can be the driver. The changing of exercises, the main movements should all resemble themselves. And then you have fun with the accessory movement patterns, and you start to throw in some fun things, and you do the stuff there like we talked about. Long-term measurable progress starts from the time you meet somebody and how you assess them, and if you can assess what they need, what they want, and where they want to go properly. It's not just coming in here and just beating them into the ground every single time. That's a quick way to either lose a paying client or catch a lawsuit. So with that, thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I appreciate the time that you have spent here listening and tuning in to support. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, leave a review, leave a comment. Let me know what you would like to hear about next. And if you are interested in working with me for coaching, programming, or if you have any other questions, there'll be a link in the description, or you can email me at haveadayfitness@gmail.com. Thank you guys. Do better, be better, show up, have a day.